Now I'd like to invite Rabbi Marcey.
Okay.
Show the class.
First, thank all of you who are here today for Rabbi Carla and I. We certainly appreciate it. Especially thank you to the rabbis from the community who have joined us today. Peace and blessings. This sermon began to be written a little more than 18 years ago, though I had no idea that I would be standing here today. For it was at my daughter's bat mitzvah when I, who had little contact with my Jewish tradition, became enchanted by a story. An ancient story rolled up in a scroll, written in an, this is hard, incomprehensible, sorry, that's as fast as I can fingerspell, and ancient language. Completely, unexpectedly, that story beckoned me, seduced me, really. And I began showing up at shul on Friday nights to hear more of that story. And of course, when a person begins hanging around a synagogue, they soon are volunteering, making lots of friends, and becoming part of the Jewish community. Wonderful things, all by themselves. But it was not enough for me. I wanted to be able to engage in the story. So I began learning Hebrew, and I began learning Torah. And what that means is I began to connect with the vast body of Jewish texts and Jewish thoughts. Then something wonderful happened. I started teaching in religious school. And then I had a really good reason to spend more time learning. The more I learned, the more I wanted to learn. And an idea started invading my thoughts and my heart. And that idea was that I wanted to be a rabbi. I wanted to be immersed in Jewish tradition, and especially Jewish texts. And I wanted to use my love of learning and my life experience caring for others as a nurse to serve the Jewish people. That desire to become a rabbi, despite some obstacles, brought me to Rabbi Dr. Goldhammer and to this place. B'nai Shalom and the Hebrew Seminary. Who knew that behind the walls of this unassuming building on Oakton Street existed a treasure of amazing teachers and Jewish tradition. And I began learning here almost 6 years ago. And what an amazing 6 years it has been. I would tell you all about it, but we would never leave. So let me just say that I had no idea that I could grow so much, and I had no idea of all the wonderful things that were ahead of me. I am now going to spare us all and ask Karen, our wonderful interpreter, to help me tell you about some of those wonderful things. One of those wonderful things, even if it didn't seem so wonderful while I was doing it, was the opportunity to write my thesis. Why do I say this? Because first it gave me an opportunity to work and learn with an amazing rabbi, Rabbi Lawrence Edwards, but more so because writing my thesis demanded that my heretofore persistent and unformed thoughts about the biblical narrative be fashioned deliberately, coherently, so that I could develop a useful understanding of the uniqueness of the biblical narrative and the way it has been a relevant document in the life of the Jewish people, and I would even go as far as to say in the life of all humanity. My thesis explores the reasons that the biblical narrative of the origins of existence has had the staying power, the tenaciousness to survive as a living document when the other narratives of similar times and places survive merely as interesting artifacts of an ancient time. My particular claim is that the biblical narrative had an innovation that the other narratives lacked: the uncreated creator, God, that exists outside of the material world of time and space. That primary understanding, then, leads to a vast array of ideas that continue to make the biblical narrative radically different from its peers and unique from subsequent narratives. That difference is the narrative thread which leads us to a foundational idea: the idea that the purpose of existence is to be partners with God in the ongoing act of creation. Additionally, the biblical narrative is understood through the Jewish sages across millennia, expresses the unique idea that God needs the creation. God needs us to manifest God within the creation. For God dwells in a realm that is outside of our time and space. And that understanding has led to the vibrant, from ancient times to contemporary times, the vibrant conversation that has gone on until this very minute. Conversation that, thanks to the Hebrew Seminary, I have been able to join. Finally, my thesis teaches, or taught me, because I have been taught by my wonderful teachers, that this radical interpretive understanding of a story told by human beings but inspired by notions of divinity indeed transforms humanity through the behavior that God demands of God's people throughout the narrative. Legislated behavior, secular or religious, comes about through the understanding of this particular narrative, which has as its premise that everything matters because God created everything. The biblical narrative at the conclusion of Deuteronomy then makes a profound and tremendous shift in its instruction. The narrative places the stewardship of God's creation directly in the power of the created humanity. The biblical narrative charges humanity, and specifically in the storyline, charges the Israelites by making it very clear that God has handed the reins of responsibility to the creation. God, through Moses, tells the people who are standing at the threshold of a promised land, of their promised land, that lo b'shamayim hi, it is not in the heavens, that all that occurs, every decision that is made, is on them. Indeed, the language of the narrative indicates that it is on those who were there, us, and all of those who are coming to be. This pivotal point in the narrative then becomes the companion idea to everything matters, because the enterprise becomes clear. Not only does everything matter, but it is up to us to be responsible for everything. Writing my thesis taught me that this notion is deep and permeated in the narrative, and it is this foundational idea that gives the narrative its exquisite power and lasting relevance for humankind. Just as the people said at the foot of Sinai when receiving the Torah in Shemot 24:7, Kol asher diber Adonai na'aseh v'nishma. All that Hashem said we will do and we will understand. So too, writing my thesis has given me a framework, a foundation to both act and understand in my rabbinate. The seminary, again, has given me the skills to transmit that tradition to our Jewish community, because indeed, isn't that the whole point? Again, these 6 wonderful years of my life happened because of the love, support, and teaching of so many people, teachers, friends, families, too many to name but a few. I must say thank you to my dear friend, Cantor Michelle Drucker-Friedman. She was the person who was there 18 years ago at my daughter's bat mitzvah, who was the one who said to me, well, you could come back on Friday. A dear friend, Dana Desjardins, who's not here, but who has always been a writing friend of mine. All of the students here at Hebrew Seminary, but especially Cantor Rabbi Rob Jury, and my chavruta, my heart. Where are you? Allison? My chavruta, I can't say anything more about that than that, Allison Brown. Thank you so much to the board of the Hebrew Seminary, all of you who have made this possible. Tom, especially you, who I've counted as a friend and a study partner for so long. Thank you to all of the people, all the congregation of Bnei Shalom, especially Peggy, Nona, and Ava for both of your roles here at the shul and also at the seminary. Thank you to my teachers at the seminary, Rabbi B'nai Lappy, who taught me how to approach a text, Cantor Michael Davis, who filled my love of textual study, Rabbi Sherry Chen, who also shared Midrash with me, Rabbi Rachmiel Drizin, who introduced me to a different way of thinking about prayer, Dr. Stephanie Kutzen, I think of you and channel you all of the time. Rabbi Rebecca Lillian, Rabbi Dr. Pinchas Eisenbach, and Linda Clark, who have taught me so much about pastoral care. Rabbi Ellen Roth, Nona Balk, and Pam Cloesy, who have helped me learn sign, which I've sadly not been able to keep up with too much this year. And of course, the best biblical Hebrew teacher ever, Rabbi Dr. Bernard Grossfeld, Zichron Livracha. His absence is still so keenly felt. But finally, I have to thank 3 very special men. My husband, Alan, who's been my friend and my partner and my support always. I love you very much. Rabbi Dr. Lawrence Edwards, who patiently helped me create a thesis from a swirling chaos of thoughts. Your patience and generosity is unbounded. And to my friend, my teacher, in so many ways my everything, Rabbi Dr. Douglas Goldhammer, there are no words to begin to tell you how grateful I am to you for giving me the opportunity to learn, for being my wonderful teacher, and for believing that I could accomplish this dream, and for helping me make it my reality. Thank you. Shalom uveracha, peace and blessings.